Hey guys, okay, back. Boy, had a little sitch. I know you guys see up here that it says network error and reconnecting, but that's just on Twitch's side. I think we're still okay. So, not to worry, alright? Not to worry. Okay, let's do this thing. So, D4, knight F6, C4, G6, knight F3. This is Magnus. Fabiano's white, Magnus Carlsen. Magnus is black. So it's kind of like a pre World Championship game, kind of. So G6 was 7 was played by Magnus. Bobby went E3. Magnus castled. Bishop E2, D3, D6, knight F3, knight F6, D5, B4, A3. What the computer likes is castles, but let's give it just a second here and see what it actually wants. It's not really sure at this moment. So it just basically it goes D4, E5, D takes E, and then F takes E. Now he's got this open file and castles. That's actually the best idea. This is right here. Is the best. But for some reason it's not allowing me to move it. See, it won't allow me to move. There's something going on with Twitch's site, so just gonna have to bear with me on this because I don't understand why it's doing what it's doing. So just gotta bear with me on it. So we might just, I hope we could do tactics, but I'm not sure if we can actually do tactics. I'll see if it'll allow us to do tactics. What that means is I don't know if I'm going to be able to do some of your guys' moves because it won't allow me to, see, it won't allow me to move other moves for some reason. So we're just going to have to talk it over. So E5, E takes, F takes, and then Fabi castles. This knight C5 is a good idea because if you think about it, what it does is it puts it so that it can actually go. It could come to E5. Potentially, the knight can go to C5, E4, and then G5, and then maybe just going here and then cementing, something like that. But castling puts everything safe, so E5 is played. But back here, this was actually the computer's first choice, was up here. Also, potentially, that's an idea right here to stop the knight from coming in, and the knight would actually have to go back, so it looked kind of, the knight would look kind of silly, and it would have to reroute. So it'd have to do that if that's played. So let's castle, E5, knight B3, C6, E4, knight C7, F4. So what Fabi's trying to do is get control of this open file. with his rook challenge. Knight c6, f5. Okay, now the pressure. He's also trying to rip Magnus's castle king apart, so that if that takes here, that takes, and there's a pawn missing right here. This pawn's gone right here. So d4, bishop e3, knight takes e2, check, so because he's trading off a bishop pair. So now Fabi has the two the knights, the knight on b3, the knight on c3. What that means is he's going to want to keep it closed. He's going to want to close the game. And so, but now Magnus has a passed pawn. So he's got 5 versus 3 on the queen side, / 1 pawn on the king side. So it's kind of like one pawn's a semi thing on the queen side, so it's kind of odd. But Fabi's got 3 passers on the king side, so versus 1. So it's going to be interesting. Magnus has an exposed king slightly. One second, I'm going to get a drink. So thank you for your patience there. Okay, and see this? There's no pawns here. Fabi's king side is pretty much safe, but Magnus has a passed pawn in the center, and he's got them connected. So you're gonna have to figure that it's who can blitz the king first. This knight blocks Fabi's passed pawn, and this potentially could do a fork if it not watched. If it was black's move, Magnus could fork. So c takes, and AD. Because what this does is if there's a fork here, which that's what Magnus plays, Magnus can't take, because if he takes, bye-bye. So g3 was played, g5 was played. Pinning the queen, b3 was played. Queen to c4. Knight a5. Best is actually here, because what you're wanting to do at this point is if the knight takes, queen takes back. And well, actually Fabi's idea is right, so it does like his better. See, they train with computer engines, but remember, don't lean on a computer engine as a crutch. Figure out why it's the best move, learn from it, and then continue to keep pushing forward. C7, queen c7, and queen takes c7, rook takes it. So now it's going to be kind of a grind. It's going to be he potentially can go here and there. See, we even did it before the computer did it, right? And then there, and potentially he can have a passed pawn. A c5, B, knight takes, bishop takes, king takes, and this was a slight inaccuracy. F6 was the proper move, and this is how it would go with computer line. And then what would happen is you can the rook would take here, would check and win the pawn, and these pawns would end up becoming weak. So like takes here, check, and then you'd basically have to come back here and block, because there's a threat of a rook attack there. So this rook would have to take and then come over and block, and then that would trade, and these would be a problem here. So I think they could be stopped though. So I think it'd end up being a draw. But Fabi played knight d2, which is, I know he's trying to do it. He wants to somehow get into one of these points here. So bishop b7, f check, f8. Rook comes over. Knight comes. Bishop takes, pawn takes, c4, and g4. That was a mistake. h3 is the proper move, because what you're wanting to do is if he plays here, you then have g4 takes, and then you can have connected paths, a connected protected pass. Hey, good. How you doing? So that's kind of the goal, is to that's why you play, the computer says to play here. If that's played there, and then potentially you'll get a pawn here. Yeah, the reason the network, I'm really not able to move moves, but I can actually do game moves. So I'll do my best. I'll use arrows kind of to help you guys, maybe to talk, but for some reason I can't really move. See? If I try to move, it does that. Twitch, I think, is having a little bit of a sitch. But he goes g4, knight b8. I mean, not knight. Rook b8. This is Magnus is black and Fabi is white. Rook takes, pawn takes. And now Fabi's going after the weakness of these pawns here. See if he can't. c3, d8, knight f6, king f7, rook b7, rook takes check, takes, king moves in. Rook d3, king e3, king goes into d2, takes, h4. So boy, this is kind of scary. I wouldn't want to be in this predicament right here. King e5, rook f1, king d, h5. Checking's best here because you're going to want to try to shove the king away. And potentially after this check, let's say he comes up here, you potentially could actually go over to a4 and somehow maybe take advantage there, or potentially come after a check, come back down, something like that. h5. Rook, that was actually a, I gotta say, a blunder. That costed basically the game for Magnus. It went into a draw at this point. e4, and then knight f4, which was an inaccurate move as well. But I guess it's the best that the computer says. That's actually the best line, but it shows 3-pawn advantage though, which is rather odd. d5. You'd probably have to at this point check. I kind of can see why that wouldn't work though. Well, I could see how it would be a draw, because if they're there, takes, you then potentially, I guess if he played here, he played there, you have that. Then takes. Interesting, because that, and if a player blundered and played e5, I think you actually could push this pawn, then with takes, and I don't think the king can get there in time. No. So this move's good, and if somebody blundered with e5, so f5, rook e5 would be a mistake. Snikes, that's scary. King f1, rook f1, king c4, check. This actually is winning, basically, because I don't, well, I guess if he played here, you'd have to push up, wouldn't you? And then you could bring your rook over there. So, ooh, kind of a little scary, kind of scary there. I don't know if I'd want to put my king in that predicament there. That is not a fun sitch. You probably, if he played here, you probably would want to try to get g5 now that I think about it. And if he tries here, you go, you can actually go, let's see here, and let's say it goes there, you can go g4, and then if he takes here, let's see here, so here, there, and bear with me guys, here, 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 there, takes, push. He'd probably try like to come back here, then you take this pawn, push, and maybe somehow try to get his king from here to there and get this, but I believe Fabi probably could check. A very, very complicated endgame. Got to be very careful, otherwise you will end up with a sad state of just sadness. King, excuse me, king d5, rook f1, king c4, rook f4, king b3, rook b3, king takes a, rook c4. You think it's very tempting to play here, but it's really odd that he could actually move down here. That's really odd. But you can't take here because then it would queen with check. So you just got to be super duper careful when you play end games, because you can think that you're doing correct, and then all of a sudden, smack, it's all over. Like rook c8. Magnus played a move that lost him the game, basically. It's a, it looks smart. It looks, it looks so tempting. It's like, this move here looks so good. But the problem is, Fabi has two passers as well, connected. Only thing that's stopping these connectors, guys, is this rook. This rook and this king are stopping these guys. Yes, they're 3 squares away from queening, but like I said, there's only a rook that's stopping these, trying to stop these pawns. There's a rook and king, and having a passed pawn, doesn't it make sense in a player's mind? We're taught this principally. If there is a passed pawn, push it, so then you can get a rook behind it. But that stops Fabi's push. What happens? a5, and that's a draw, because he can play h6, and when the rook checks, you take there. When the pawn gets in behind, you go g5, and h3, d2, h2, d3, and it's a draw. Who'd have thunk, huh? That would end up becoming a draw. This move right here, back here, this move right here, principled looking move, is actually the move that loses the game. Who'd have thunk, huh? It looks so principled, but it does one thing that's a problem for Magnus. It gives Fabi one move to get his pawn one step closer to the board, to the queening square. When a pawn's like on the 6, if you can get both of them, they're equal to a rook or more. If you can get pawns like this, if these pawns are both here, a rook would have to sacrifice itself to stop it. Like I said, this rook's the only rook that's defending against these two pawns here. So, and so let's take a look here. See if I'll try reconnecting on here. See how everything goes. Let's see, how's it going? Ah, smack. Sorry, guys. And then network problems. Okay. So let's see, what do we got here? Here to here. Okay. What do we have? What do we have? I will be right back. You guys take a look at this. Put in some comments if you have any ideas. I'll be right back. Just take a look, okay? And put in move lines. I might not be able to move them, but we'll talk about it, okay? Okay, let's take a look. We're not moving till we see it either, so even if it takes us 10 to 15 minutes, we're going to find this move. We're going to work it out because we're not going to miss any. That's an idea. So this move here, what did it leave behind? Left behind this, these squares. So potentially okay, knight to d7. Okay, after knight d7, the queen has to go. Let's see here. So what's the idea behind knight d7? I understand. Then g6. Okay, knight d7. We'll say queen goes to b2 and then g6. Okay. See this. Yeah, but we have to think about this. What did this bishop move leave behind? Left behind these squares, right? So which square would we be able to move our knight to? There's a lot of squares, like you named one. So if the bishop moves here, right, and it's attacking this bishop, it left behind the attack potentially of the queen. But now we have to think, what idea is that based on? And so the queen has, if we play here, the queen really has two moves. But remember this. The queen still, even when we go to d7, I like your idea about attacking the queen, because there's two moves that do attack the queen, and the knight is unprotected, true. So what you have to do is think, what could we do here that see, if we play here, he has his queen as that spot to go to. Oh, I got what you're saying. Then g6. Okay. Okay. So here. All right. G6. Okay. Okay. I see what you're saying. Okay. Now I see what you're saying. Because the queen would go to after knight d7. Yeah, then you have g6. But I'm just wondering, yeah, I see what you're saying. What if he trades, though? That's the only sitch that I can see. I guess we could take then play there, couldn't we? We do have bishop takes, king takes, and then rook to c5 is an idea. That's an interesting idea. Because if he takes there, queen takes. I don't know if attacking the queen is the correct move. See, there's a couple drawbacks to this move here. The drawback to this move is it surrenders this. It also puts itself on the square for an attack. And if we ever got a rook to c5, we would be skewering or forking the queen and the knight at the same time. And I don't believe there's a way to handle that. So if we take, he takes, queen takes d8, we're still threatening there. Hmm. Yeah. Hey, how you doing? I'm trying to see, because there's, like what you're saying, that's a good move as well, but whew, I don't know if he might be able to actually play queen there. Queen d6, that's the only thing I could see. Queen takes, then rook takes. Well, I guess bishop. Oh wow, I'm pulled between two ideas. Just trying to see. Okay, here, there, check. Hmm. If we played rook takes d8. Huh. The knight. Well, the queen might try to come here. Well, I guess we could retreat out, couldn't we, at that point? Well, the king would have to take. Okay, I kind of see here, here, there. If king takes, then there. So this is really an interesting idea. Hmm. Interesting. That's an interesting first move as well. As in between move, a Zook Swamp move. I like that. So takes, bishop takes. Snikes, you're right. That does actually win a piece, because if he plays there, we play rook up here, forking the. Well, no, we can't at that point because he's got a check here. Snap. Because we have to watch out. He's actually got a check there. Huh. Here, here. Hmm. Hmm. Interesting. I was only concerned. I see what you're saying. First of all, yeah. There. Bishop takes. So I think we have to take first there, and because I know that I truly believe that has to be, because we don't want him to be able to take with temp with a tempo move. So we'd want something like that to happen. And then if takes here, we have bishop takes. Then I'm trying to think. I kind of like your idea after that of knight d7, but I'm not sure if we because we have this, that, king takes. And so I'm trying to think what would be a but this might actually work if here we take, well, then knight takes. Okay, snap, that doesn't work. Yeah, that's actually this right here is a sitch. So here, there, 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 check. And if the king goes back, Trying to figure out if we can't take here, and then drop our knight there, but I think he could just play knight here then. So okay, here and there, so he's going to take there. So bishop takes g2. Okay, king takes g2. What would be the next move sequence after that? Alright, let's say we take here, and then he plays rook takes g8 check, because more likely he's going to probably do that. Rather than take with the king right away, he'll do an in-between move of rook takes d8. That's kind of what I would do. And then let's say, because we're going to have to take back. Okay, then rook takes rook takes back. Then his king takes on g2. And then what happens after? Okay, queen b7 check. Let's say he goes back to g1. What do we do at that point? Okay, rook d5. Okay, sorry, rook d5. Knight d6. Well, then what happens after knight d6? Here we have knight d6. Okay, and then let's say, what do we play after knight d6? Because after rook d5, he will play knight d6, and that attacks our queen. It forks and attacks our queen. Oh, wait a second. No, we can't go back because our queen's not there anymore. Huh. c7, okay. Rook a to d1. Rook a d1. Well, actually you're right. Queen there. And really he doesn't have anything that he could do to stop it, does he? At that point, because he moves there, we win the queen. Huh. Interesting. Interesting. That looks like it works, so. Wait a second. What the heck? What's going on? What in the world? I can't hold on. What's this? Why won't it allow me to take? There's something going on here. Oh man. Well, I'll have to write that line out so that we got it. Then we can go over it next time. Man, I don't know. For some reason, they're having a. They were talking about having an issue with their network, and they're reconnecting LHS. There's a in the question and answer one. Somebody asked about that. I'm not sure why it's doing that, but I can't even do a puzzle. So that I don't forget, I'll write down the line. So bishop takes G2, and let's say rook takes D8 check. Rook takes D8. King takes G2. Queen B7 check. We'll say King G1. Rook D5. Let's see what's in what okay, rook D5. Oh yeah, knight D6 was that was our idea. And then we played queen. Okay. Then we did queen C7. Queen C7. Okay. Boy, I don't understand why this isn't working here. Let me give it another shot. Come on. I don't understand. Just 1 second. I'll check to see. 1 second. I'll be right back, guys. I apologize about this. Just hold on. Well, for some reason the puzzles aren't working, so I'm probably what we'll do is I'll pull up a Caruana game. So just give me a sec, and we'll just go over another Fabiano. Hey, how you doing? I have to the puzzles aren't working, and I think I can at least I'll do one more game with you guys. I appreciate your patience. I'm sorry the server is kind of not um, holding up. So we'll do, yeah, I actually restarted my computer and did all that, and it still doesn't do that. We're gonna do, Fabi drew this one here. It should be an interesting one. It's so let's take a look and see what we got here. So let's put in here, and so what we'll do is we'll switch this out to import a game, and I know I can do a game. I can't move any of the pieces, so we'll just gotta bear with me on that. I apologize, guys, because we had a great line worked out. I wrote it down, so next time we get on, if you guys are on as well, we'll put in the move sequence for next time. But until then, I know I can do a game because I actually played out a game. Yeah. No, how do you get those? I didn't know there was green, red, blue, and yellow. Where do you find those at? Because that's interesting. I didn't know that. Where do you do that at? Let's see. So hold alter, and then yeah, cool, sweet. Wow, you can even do those for circles. So that's a blue. So there's green. There's blue. Let me write that down so I don't forget that. So you gotta hold alter. Just 1 second. And right click. Okay. And that forms blue, and that makes a blue, so that's blue. Alright, gotcha. Oh, shift, alternate, and it's, oh. So shift, and then alternate equals, oh, that's red. So shift and alternate. Okay, so that's blue. This is blue. I'll erase that. Put that smaller. And so then hold on, just give me a second, guys, because then if I know how to do this, then I can do different colors, and that'll be even cooler. So shift and, oh, that's yellow. Oh, okay. So shift and alternate. Shift and alternate. Oh, you're right. It does equal yellow. Well, shift and I think that equals red. Shift and shift and C T R L is actually I think it's let's see, shift and that red. So alternate shift is yellow. Wow, so you can actually do both, huh? But this is red, green, so this is red. And then shift and alternate is yellow. And then it also, okay. Wow. Huh. Okay. That equals red. Equals red. Okay, I think I got them now. So now I can do different colors, but for right now, till I get all those combos down, I'll just stick with green. But thank you, Twitch, for fun about putting that in. I didn't know that. Okay, so Fabi's game, he's white, and Matthew, I do, yeah. Now I can do different colors for different moves, even on the tactics now. That'll be sweet. I then can do like for move 1, move 2, move 3, and we might even be able to do, you know, sub moves. That'll be cool. Yeah, Fabi's white, and Matthew, we'll just call him blue. Blue is black. E6, D4, D5. Knight C3. It's interesting. The blue is actually a really good player. I believe he drew Magnus. So you got for a 26-31. That's pretty darn tootin' strong to draw the world champion. So E5. This is the advanced kind of. This is the Tarrasch, or potentially the classic. It all depends how this works, because the Tarrasch variation would actually be Drat. Tarrasch variation would be here, and then let me try this. The knight would go here. Sorry, Drat. Okay. Knight would go there. And then green would go here, and then green would go here, and then red would go right there, and that would be considered the Tarrasch variation. Let's see. Then you'd go here. First you go here, there, E, and then there. That's the Tarrasch. But the classic variation is here. What you could do at this point is do the bishop here, and that would be called the Winier. I'm trying to get good in the French, so he plays the Fabi plays the not Fabi, Matthew plays the classic line, which E5 is played. It's kind of a the classic real line actually goes to bishop G5, bishop E7, E5, knight goes to D7, bishop takes, queen takes. Something similar to that is actually how the line actually goes. But this is kind of an odd, different line that I'm used to. I've seen this played before, but it's not really the classic. It's kind of like a classic subline of the classic. because usually the queen's here and the knight's there and the bishop's traded off for that bishop, which it benefits white in that kind of scenario. The classic variation is very tactical, so you got to be careful if you ever play into that. Same thing with the Winier. Be very careful if you play into the Winier. There's a lot of lines you have to learn. But Matthew goes to just the classic line, f4. This is actually the most scariest line for black, because what this does is it strengthens the center of white. Yeah. Very, very similar to the Leningrad, but the Leningrad's a little bit different. Yeah, it's the classic. There's a lot of lines that flow into different openings. Like this may be the French, but it may be the classic variation, and over here it might be like the Leningrad, something, a sub variation. But the idea behind the f4 pawn is if c5 is played, even if this gets taken here and the queen takes back, or c5, knight, f3, pawn takes, knight takes, the center still is potentially holding. And c5 is the majority of the time c5 is played. So I can't say all the time, because there could be some kind of gambits that I don't even know about that have just come into being. But the majority of the games that I've seen in this type of line here with all these pieces, c5 is usually played. It's kind of like a forced line. It's the only way black gets any counterplay. He has to undermine these pawns here. f4 does weaken the king for a check, so you got to be very careful. And that's why the knight has to be played, because if you do like this here, potentially the queen can actually slide in and cause a lot of stitches. Potentially you can actually, if you play here, something like that. Yeah. There's the reason I like the French is very, very line orientated. You can remember, you don't have to remember a ton of lines. There's really only certain moves that you have to get under your belt for the French, and you can actually play the French and get up to, I think, IM status, because the Grandmaster Simon Williams, he said he played the French till he got to IM status, or NM. It's either one of those ratings, and then he had to kind of add another opening after that, because the players who are in the IM level usually get the pattern lines as well, and it ends up becoming a draw. So you kind of have to add like other different openings at that point. And so you have to do that. Well, okay, not a problem. You know what? This is all about learning, and I know I'm spending a lot of time in the opening, but this type of structure has ideas behind it. You have to know when you're playing the French, kinda, that there's two line breaks. Here, there's that break and this break. So you have to remember that. Be careful though if you play this when the queen's open. Okay. Be careful if you play this right away, because there's a potential queen check here, and then that messes up everything. So you have to be pretty wise when you play f6. c5 is normally played without any fear of king problems, because the worst that would happen is like bishop b5, and really that's not a problem for you, because then you just take, and yes, he gets a queen there, but so be it, you've weakened his structure. So, but if you play this, that opens up that attack. So c5, knight f3, bishop e7. So discards that, prepares the castle, and then f6 played next to kind of take over the open file. e3, bishop e3, castles, queen d2, a6. a6, it's really odd. I've seen players play a6, but I kind of don't have an idea why they do that. But I kind of get. I see why black wants to play on the queen side, and to start the queen side onslaught, you go a6, b5, then you kind of can get these pawns rolling. So here, and you kind of get, you get the foot units going down the board. a6, bishop d3. So Fabi's getting everything to its optimum placement. b5, queen f3. He's moving everything to optimum for sure placement. Now the bishop can't come in for any checks because you have that and there. So knight c6. Before black gets too hyper with the queenside attack, he wants to develop everything. But I believe he had the potential to do that, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, I think he could have just played here. Kind of put some. I think also though he was a little concerned. Maybe he wanted to later play here. That's a potential idea then there. But he could do that anyways after here, and kind of get your majority going down the board. You kind of got to put a little bit of pressure on him. Yeah, there's a lot of lines that you can check up on for the French, but you have to be very, very, very careful the pawn moves in the French, because black's really cramped. So you have to base it upon getting these pawns. So if you pushed, you actually allow him to solidify his structure. So give and take a little bit. So now that's going to be played. C takes D. Now you kind of see why potentially before that might have been a better idea, but now the queen's there. It takes, and with that push it opened up for protection. Okay. Yeah, it's odd sometimes. That's why just understand the principles behind openings, because that's basically what you're doing. Oops, let's see here. Knight b3, pawn, knight takes, and you have that, and you have here, or here, potentially there, like here, there, and there. a5, bishop d. So the bishop maneuvering around. Black's kind of tied up with that pawn. It allows the rook to come. So a6. Wow, yeah, and the queen guards this rook, so that is possible to play. f5. Fabi's he's trying to smash the center, the king side. Takes. And now the rook attacks the queen. Takes. Queen there. Queen takes. Rook takes. So if pawn takes, bishop takes. Rook takes. Rook takes check. Takes. And so it's equal. Now you get your king involved because it's down to an endgame. And black really doesn't have any equality. White doesn't have any equality. There's no way for this rook to infiltrate in to win that pawn. So queen c. Now if the bishop was to take here, you get a passer, and I don't know if that's enough to cause a sitch. Yeah, he did. And then there was a draw that was agreed. But you just have to be careful. One advice before I log, is just be careful moving your back here. We'll go all the way back. Be careful moving the F pawn a little too soon. Like just like when that's played, you have to remember you have 2 breaks. Well, we'll just summarize up. You have 2 breaks. You have to be smart when to use and be very on tune. Usually when you play f6, usually you have to play bishop, e7, castles, and then f6. So just remember, move order is important. You don't want to have a knight come smashing in here with a queen, then potentially a Greek sacrifice. Just always be on guard for Greek sacrifices because you no longer have a knight here. If you were to play here in a castle and he got a knight here, a bishop here, he could actually play bishop takes, king takes, knight comes in, knight goes back, and then queen to h5, and you have a sitch with a Greek gift. So just be on guard. You have to always watch this pawn as well, because potentially some damage after castling could arise. Okay, so I'm going to leave you guys with that. Thank you all for logging on, and you know what? We'll get our tactics, our puzzles. Okay. E3 should be considered here. Let me see. Yeah, this is Simon Williams. I gotta say, you're right, knight. E2, a knight Ge2 is actually a idea as well. After c5, you can play knight Eg2. The only problem is your bishop is trapped. So, oh, are you talking about? All right, which? Oh, I gotcha. So yeah, right here. Oh yeah, you could do that. But remember, there's always drawbacks in moves, so just be on guard for each move as drawback. Yeah. C3. Yeah, that's if you want to do. Yeah. Yeah. But you know what? Remember, keep studying. If you want a line that you can kind of have fun with, not for an opening, and not have to kind of study a whole bunch, but get to a good middle game for black, the French is a good one. So if you're starting out, you really want to probably do the French. That's just my advice. That's what my teacher taught me. So guys, thank you for coming on. Thank you. Allied Chess will be up and running soon, pretty soon, I hope. And then we'll do puzzles next time if it's up and running. Okay. But we got to do 2 games and talk over the games, and so that was worth it. And we also got to learn how to do colors now as well. So yeah, I appreciate that you guys are patient, because we had a line that the knight and we worked out, and a couple other guys were working out as well. So yeah. And remember, keep studying, keep getting better. Always remember there's a plan. Every move has drawbacks, so make sure that your move doesn't have as many drawbacks as your opponent, and keep on studying. That's the whole thing. And remember, as Wesley So says through the Lord Jesus, I say God bless, guys, and I'll see you next time on Chest Cruncher TV. Remember, we're all in this together to get better, okay? And I say God bless, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow, okay? And I'm hoping the LHS server does get better so that we can do puzzles. So just have a great rest of the night or evening or morning, and be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, guys? Bye-bye.